Hey, welcome to the channel, Phil here, and today we're going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery, the season finale, the whole of the sort of wrap-up of the whole of the second half of the first season. Did a kind of wrap-up of the first half of the first season a few months ago, so if you want to see that, go to that video, which I will put a little card link up to here. But we're going to be concentrating mainly on the second half of the season today, and of course talking a little bit about what I think of the season overall, and my predictions for Season 2. So now we've got one season in the bag of Star Trek Discovery. What did I think about it overall? I said this in my previous Star Trek Discovery videos, but I thought the season started off, the very first two-part pilot episode, was actually quite weak. I was unsure about the series from those two episodes. But I think very quickly in Season 1, once they were aboard the Discovery, they found their feet a little bit, and it got a little bit better, and I was seeing some promise in there, which I quite liked. I liked the darker tone, I liked the sort of slightly hints of serialized storytelling we were getting, and I think that the darker nature of the show kind of served it well. It was a wartime show, and I quite liked it. So I think it did get a slightly little bit better in that sort of second bit of that first half, so second quarter, I guess. Basically after the two-part pilot, it got better than I thought it was going to be, so I was quite pleased there. But with this second half of the first season, I think it has really found its ground now. Since they went to the Mirror Universe, I think this show has gone from being quite a good series to, yes, I really like this series. This is now potentially my favourite Star Trek series. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. I've seen so much hate for this series, as well as so much love for this series. It seems to be the Marmite of Star Treks. But I really like it now. Since it's gone over to... I mean, I'm not saying it definitely... My previous favourite Star Trek series was DS9. Again, a wartime-based series. Maybe that's just what the slightly darker wartime-based stories are, and serialized nature of them are what I like. But I think it's done really well in sort of finding its ground in that second half of the season. One of the things that I noticed that people online have been criticising the series for is that it doesn't feel like Star Trek, in that it's not light enough, it's not positive enough, it's not hopeful enough, it's not optimistic enough, the characters don't embody the Star Trek ideals. However, I don't necessarily mind that. What we've seen in this first series is individuals questioning Starfleet's morals, Starfleet's raison d'etre, their way of doing things, right through to the very end, where we've seen the whole of Starfleet Command going against the Starfleet morals. Now, some people have said that's bad, that means this isn't Star Trek, this isn't Gene Roddenberry's hopeful vision of the future. But I think it's much more interesting to see cracks in that vision, because if you've got a big, massive society like the Federation that stretches across quadrants of the galaxy, you're not going to have everyone agreeing all the time. You're not going to have everyone signing up to the ideals of the Federation, even if they're in the Federation. There's going to be degrees. There's going to be people that think some of it's good, some of it's bad, and there'll be people that outrightly go against it. That's just nature. That's human nature. You're never going to get it that everybody agrees on everything. And I think it was great to show that in Burnham earlier on. And I suppose Lorca, but now we know Lorca came from the Mirror Universe. And under extreme situations like war that you're looking like you're about to lose, it's interesting to explore how people and civilizations and the command of societies crack and potentially go against what their own morals are. I think that's a really interesting story to tell, and I'm glad they told it and came out the other side and have now reaffirmed their Starfleet ideals. So that's just a general look. What about the individual episodes themselves? So let's go through them one at a time. Episode 10, Despite Yourself. I mean, I think at the cliffhanger of the first part of the season, everyone assumed they had jumped into the Mirror Universe, and everyone was right. And I'm so glad they did, and I'm so glad they spent so much time there, because this, as I said, really kick-started the series for me. And it was... I think this is where the series got really good. There was some great setup in this episode. I liked the fact that they had to effectively pretend to be the the ISS Discovery from the Mirror Universe's, basically the Mirror Universe's version of Discovery. They repainted the hull of the ship. They synthesized uniforms that matched, and you got the brilliance that was Tilly, Cadet Tilly, having to pretend to be a ruthless, bloodthirsty captain of the Discovery because that's who her counterpart is. And I think that led to some brilliant, amusing scenes in this episode that I loved. And I think it was great for Tilly's character development as well, because she's always been this person who doubts herself, is a bit nervous, and this is the first hint that she could go on to develop her character and become more confident gradually as the show goes on, and I'm sure we'll see that in season 2 and beyond. So I think it was really good for her character, and it was funny, so good all around there. And the Tyler stuff develops at a pace in this episode as well, which I'm really pleased at. I thought they could drag that on. We all kind of theorised that Tyler might really be Voq, and he is, and it's revealed in this episode to us, the audience. It's revealed in this episode. The characters in the show don't necessarily know yet, but to us it's revealed, and they could have dragged that out for the rest of the season. I'm really glad they didn't. Really glad that was over and done with in this episode, in terms of telling us, the audience, that he was Voq. But it did mean the sad demise of Dr. Culber, and I wasn't sure how to feel about that, because it seemed a bit just narratively, it was a little bit strange the way the death happened, because as the Doctor found out this information, that effectively he found out that Tyler, there was a good chance that he was a security risk, and he knew this, and yet he told no one. He went to Tyler first, and then Tyler killed him. Why didn't he notify somebody about these findings? It just does not make any sense narratively that he would not, in his position, tell someone. On the other hand, I can see why they had the death, in terms of how it moves certain bits of the plot forward, how it gives something for the human part of Tyler to feel immense guilt about, how it would affect Stamets, and all that sort of stuff. So I can see kind of why they did it, but it's just such a shame that we don't get to see that character, in the future. And of course, I love the continuity references to previous Star Trek series here, particularly, specifically, the USS Discovery, not the Deep Space Nine one, the one that was that disappeared in an episode of the original series, and actually time travelled back, and also went into the Mirror Universe, and we saw in an Enterprise episode. So there's connections to the original series and Enterprise in this episode. They mention the USS Discovery, and they're looking for files on where it's gone. I like those little continuity references there, that's nice. Episode 11, The Wolf Inside. I thought this was a really good exploration of the sort of toll and trauma that having to do terrible things because to maintain a cover or to maintain a pretense that is important to save many more lives can have on you. Because in this episode, Burnham obviously has to pretend she is the Mirror Universe's Burnham and has resumed captaincy of the Shenzhou, and she has to kill not innocent, but people that she would prefer not to kill, that she doesn't deserve to die, and just generally the toll it takes on her. I thought that was a really good exploration of that. But this episode did feel a lot like it was treading water. There was a lot of stuff. The whole medical situation with Stamets, it was just kind of like ticking over, and didn't feel like it was massively going anywhere exciting. And then you had Burnham going down to see the Alien Alliance to try and find out how they work together, or how the Klingons managed to work together. And that all just felt like a bit of a distraction. And honestly, from a writing point of view, probably just an excuse to A, get Mirror Universe Sarek into an episode somehow, and B, to have Tyler come face to face with Mirror Universe Voq and trigger his, psychosis, conflicting personalities to the point where he attacks Burnham. It was a bit of a MacGuffin in that point of a plot point. So I think, it just felt like they were just kind of lots of stuff that was just there to get to other stuff, and it was okay. I didn't hate it, but out of this second half of the episodes, it was one of the weaker ones. Now, at the very end of the episode, you got the reveal that Philippa Georgiou is the Mirror Universe Emperor. So, there's that. I think a lot of that had been guessed by people. There's a lot of stuff in Discovery that, while I think it's good, it was quite predictable. So, I don't know. It makes narrative sense for her to be the Emperor, because then you got the relationship with Burnham and the parallels there between Prime Universe and Mirror Universe, and that's all good. So even though lots of people guessed it, I still think it was a good choice to have her as the Emperor. Episode 12, Vaulting Ambition. Now, I thought Michelle Yeoh was one of the weaker things in the pilot episodes. I wasn't keen on her as the captain at all. I thought if she was going to be in the whole series, I would get quite annoyed by her, and so in that respect, I was quite glad when they killed her off after the two-parter. However, as the Empress, I think she's brilliant. I think as the Mirror Universe counterpart, she works so well, and so I'm really glad they brought her back. And in this episode, we had the Lorca reveal that he is actually Mirror Universe Lorca and has been the whole time. Again, this is one that a lot of people, as soon as we knew the Mirror Universe was playing a part, and some, even slightly before, predicted. But again, I think it works, and I think it's probably the only reason we got such a great actor in the role. I think that's the only reason that he accepted the role of the captain of Lorca, was because he knew it would be a limited run. It would only be for the first season, so it wasn't a massive commitment. And two, that he thought the storyline was so good and worthwhile to tell. And it also shows that this is a show that is not afraid to shake up their ensemble, because they've already killed the Doctor, and now Lorca's actually a bad guy. He's no longer going to be the captain. So, and then he dies next episode. So, it shows that, it's almost Game of Thrones levels of anyone could die. Probably anyone other than Michael could die in this series. And that's exciting, because for the most part, that all your main cast are pretty safe. They're going to come out unscathed from the end of the episode, or at least eventually. But you don't know that for this series. Other than, again, I say, probably Michael. Anyone could die at any point, and that is actually quite exciting. Episode 13, What's Past is Prologue. I think this is a very fitting title. This whole first season sort of feels like a bit like a prologue to what's going to come next, with the final episodes ending and the kind of reaffirmation of the Starfleet's ideals and the mission and the sort of gung-ho nature of it all, and the hope that a lot of people said was missing from this series. I think it's all been leading to that. I think you needed to go through the darkness to reach the hope. You got to go through the prologue to reach the... I mentioned Game of Thrones a second ago. I've seen this episode described by several reviews as very Game of Thrones-like in its sort of political machinations, however you pronounce that word. And yeah, I'd agree with that, and I think it benefits it greatly. This is a really good episode, and I think it's one of the best of the season so far. Overall, I love the political sort of situation that they had in this episode, and the coup attempt and the Game of Thrones-esqueness about it. I thought that was all really exciting. And there were also some absolutely fantastic space battles in this episode, so that's always a plus. It's nice to have some space battles. Some good ones, especially. Episode 14, The War Without, The War Within, the penultimate of the season. Back to their own universe, but 9 months later due to some accidental time travelling. The Federation's losing the war with the Klingons, and the Federation leaders are a bit desperate. It's a bit of a quieter episode following the previous episode's big action sequences, and I think that was probably needed. A little bit of a palate cleanser between this and the finale was probably needed. What happened? I don't really buy most of the crew just quickly forgiving Tyler so quickly. I think that would have taken probably a bit more time. It was interesting to see the Emperor's clashes with the culture. She's been brought over from the Mirror Universe. And then the ending twist where she's given command of the Discovery and everyone is told that she's their universe's Philippa, because no one knows that she came from the Mirror Universe apart from a few select people, and it's classified. That was a twist which actually surprised me and also promised so much, which I don't think they delivered in the next episode. Talking of which, episode 15, Will You Take My Hand? I thought on the whole this episode did a good job of tying up a lot of the season-long arcs that we've had, with Tyler, with the war, with the Mirror Universe, with everything really, all tying up quite nicely, leaving them on a relatively blank slate to go into Season 2. And go into Season 2 with a new status quo as well. Renewed hope, renewed optimism, renewed affirmation to the to Starfleet's raison d'etre and their morals and stuff. I didn't love everything though, and I thought the Emperor's command of the ship was a bit of a dud in terms of potential wasted there. It felt like there should have been so much more long-term repercussions to her being given the command of the Discovery. But actually, there were a few barbed quips at crew members, Saru feeling uncomfortable on the bridge, then they beamed down from the away mission, and by the end of the away mission, she wasn't the captain anymore. Everyone knew she was from the Mirror Universe, and she wasn't even that interesting down there. She went off with some prostitutes, and that was pretty much it. She had a bomb she was going to blow up the planet with, and then when the Federation changed their mind, because they'd had sanctioned it, and Burnham convinced them to change their mind, she just went, oh, okay then. And then, was let free. I mean, she's going to come back, obviously. She's out there. She's going to, I'm sure, cause problems for them in the future, but it just felt like that whole giving her the command thing should have had more repercussions. Anyway, that's probably all we got to say about that episode. Oh yeah, there's the Enterprise, isn't there? How did I forget that? Right at the end of the episode, on their way to Vulcan to pick up their new captain, they get a distress signal, and it turns out to be from the USS Enterprise. We see it on screen briefly, and it looks good. I like it. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. So, with that in mind, let's go to Prediction Corner. My predictions for Series 2. Well, I mentioned one already. I don't think that's the last we've seen of Philippa, Mirror Universe Philippa Georgiou, the Empress. She's going to be back. I reckon in Season 2 at some point there's going to be at least one episode with her in. She's going to cause trouble. She's going to be trying to establish some kind of power base in our universe, whether or not that be in a sort of criminal crime syndicate capacity or on another planet. I don't know. There's going to be something there where she's going to be trying to build some kind of power base again, and it's going to cause problems for the Discovery crew. I think it would be very strange if we did not meet the crew of the Enterprise. We got only a couple we've really met before. I mean, there's Spock, who we know very well from the original series. At this point in the timeline, it's Captain Pike's crew, and the only one from the original series in that is Spock. Are we going to see him? Are we going to see the relationship between him and Burnham? I hope so. And will this create more continuity and consistencies, or will it solve some? We're just going to have to wait and find out, I guess. I hope there's going to be some more universe hopping with the Spore Drive. I would like to see some other universes other than the Mirror Universe. I'm still keeping a torch for my theory that this is not the Prime Universe that we know from Picard and the original series and all that, Deep Space Nine. I'm still keeping a torch for the idea that this might be a completely separate universe, and that may or may not be confirmed by what we see on the Enterprise. Who knows? I was kind of hoping they would confirm that at the end of this season, but hey, we'll find out. Here's a bit of an off-the-wall prediction. Lorca isn't dead, I don't think. He fell into a spore mycelial network energy ball thing. I reckon there's a chance he got absorbed into the network. He's actually either transported somewhere else or absorbed into it in the same way that Stamets' mind was, and he's in the network somewhere. It's science fiction. There's always a chance he can come back. What it will depend on is if they can get a story good enough to tempt the actor back. And if they can, I think they will. The crew of the Discovery were on their way to pick up their new captain on Vulcan, so I presume he is a Vulcan, and I think he's probably going to clash with most of the crew, but especially Burnham, who, as we've had explained to us in the past, the completely Vulcan crew of a Starfleet ship refused to have her on board because she wasn't a Vulcan. Vulcans aren't comfortable, I don't think, with Burnham. She's been raised amongst them but never accepted by them, apart from Sarek. So that will be interesting to see if he is a Vulcan, if we get that sort of dynamic and the hostility between the two there. And is that it? I guess we might see Harry Mudd again. I'd quite like to. That'd be good. I liked him. He was good in this. Much better than in the original series. So there are my predictions. What are yours? What did you think of this season? What were your episode highlights? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you for another. I'm working on a video about this book. This is a Star Trek book I picked up that is set before the series, and I'm working on a video for it. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it because what I was planning for it kind of depended on how the series ended. But the series is ended in a way that the video I think will still make sense, so keep an eye out for that. And I will see you again for more Star Trek videos and other stuff, pop culture-y. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that jazz. See you next time.